15 Hamas terrorists attacked an IDF outpost. 10 Hamas terrorists are dead. 3 IDF soldiers are wounded. Bad day for Hamas. One Hamas guy tried to shoot an RPG. A tank ran him over. Good job and kudos to the tank crew. Let's watch some videos and talk about it. My name is Manso. I'm a former IDF Special Forces officer. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to do the like, share, subscribe. I highly appreciate that. And if you want to help support my war, go and check my Patreon. So without further ado, let's jump right in. On the morning of August 21st, near Khan Yunis, Hamas launched one of its most ambitious ambushes in months. At 9 a.m., about 20 terrorists emerged from a tunnel just 50 meters from the IDF outpost. They opened fire with rifles, RPGs, and mortars. One RPG targeted a tank and missed. Usually the mortars are used to have suppression fire so you can keep all the soldiers hiding, putting their heads under the ground, and then your units can go and attack and do the damage, kidnap, and slaughter and massacre. Mortar fire tried to pin the defenders while a group of fighters pushed forward. They've breached the outpost. Inside, close quarters combat broke out. The company commander himself fought the invaders and stopped the massacre along with a few of his soldiers, stopping them from spreading through the position. This could have been a catastrophe, and thanks to that commander's readiness and braveness, he basically stopped at probably one of the biggest. This could have ended up really bad. So great job for that commander. Outside, the battle escalated. Sniper delivered precision fire, tanks struck RPG teams, and within minutes, Israeli air support entered the fight, cutting off reinforcements and striking retreating terrorists. I think one of the terrorists in one of the videos here you can see was eliminated just when he was trying to run back into the tunnel. I also added the camera from the Apache that came to fight with these guys, and I've dubbed the audio to English so you can understand. So some things might sound a little bit kind of weird, but let's hear it out.
Our forces under fire right now. They are being shot at. They're being shot at. I fired a cannon across the area. How is it looking? Confirming good hits. Helicopter engaging another round of cannon fire.
I think this image shows you how difficult it is for air support, Apache pilot, to understand who is who in the battlefield. He could have easily ended up shooting his guys, so it makes it very difficult, and let alone to differentiate between civilians and terrorists, especially when the terrorists are embedded among civilians, dressed as civilians, and often using civilians as human shields. By the end of the battle, 3 Israeli soldiers were wounded, 1 badly, but his situation is stabilized, 2 lightly wounded. At least 15 Hamas terrorists were killed, 9 of them inside or at the outpost. I think the report is not exactly accurate. Last I've heard, it was about 10 terrorists were killed, but we're going to be hearing more about the numbers as time goes by. The rest were hunted down by the air and armor. That's the guys who ran into the tunnel, and you can see them in this video here. This was more than just a firefight. It shows that Hamas is adapting, using tunnels, mortars, and infiltration tactics to try to overwhelm positions. And I would even add they're becoming very desperate to show some kind of a result. So they sit along in these tunnels, they're stealing the food, from the Gazan people, and they're just planning and planning. How can they show that they're still in the picture and not defeated? The fact that they entered your outpost, that's the worst thing that happened. Outposts are built to fight outside. They're not designed to fight inside. The moment you have an enemy from within, that's a very bad place to be, and you don't want to find yourself there. So the fact that 10 terrorists managed to enter inside, well, at least several of them, and that commander stopped them, and then him and the soldiers were able to shoot them, push them out, kill them. Most of the terrorists that were eliminated here were eliminated in close quarter combat. So we're talking about meters away, sometimes even centimeters away, face to face. You can see the white in the enemy's eyes, and that is one hell of a battle that went inside that outpost. The battle flipped. Hamas wanted a symbolic victory. Instead, they suffered a humiliating defeat.
A tense day in Gaza Strip. It began at 9 a.m. Skilled Hamas unit emerges near Kfir Brigade's post in Khan Yunis. Terrorists with anti-tank missiles and automatics fire at defenders.
That was a tunnel that they came out right. The outpost is this building.
Reacts swiftly, engaging in close combat. Air support called. Combat chopper and armed drones arrive in 3 minutes.
That's pretty good reaction time for air support.
4th Armored joins Haruv. 10 terrorists killed, 5 fled, 3 IDF wounded, 1 critical.
I think 9 were killed inside the building, the outpost, and 1 was killed by the helicopter as he was running away.
We eliminated 10 armed terrorists in close combat, quickly closing in.
That's one of the
3 Action
officers in
Battalion
that
soldiers
unit.
were wounded in the gunfire. This is the dangerous scenario security forces warned about recently. Extended presence in the area endangers troops in Gaza. Terrorists study patterns, focusing efforts to kill or kidnap.
When you're fighting a humanitarian warfare and you don't want to basically kill everyone in Gaza, so you go inside and your soldiers start taking outposts in different locations. Could be an abandoned building, could be you build your own outpost there with D9s who can like build a structure for you, put some, cement fortified walls and sand dunes. And then comes the biggest challenge. You're stationary, the enemy starts learning your patterns, your way, especially in Gaza and Hamas. They have tunnels everywhere. They keep coming out, probing. They have cameras outside as well. They had 15 years and a several billion-dollar budget to prepare for that. So that makes Gaza a very difficult war zone to maneuver and to work in, especially when you've been there for a very long time. Your soldiers might start getting used to the situation, maybe dropping their guards a little bit, and that can be deadly.
This time luck was on our side, but it won't last, IDF warns. With 60,000 reservists approved to help take Gaza, Southern Command wraps up 5 months of operations since the last Hamas deal. Key achievements: control of 75% of Gaza, excluding strategic areas like Gaza City and central camps.
If anyone is wondering what was that laser line, that's basically when you put explosives in an abandoned neighborhood. You want to take down all these houses because they've been used as infrastructure for Hamas and as tunnel shafts, because all their tunnels almost are coming from civilian buildings. So you have the explosive wires, I don't know the name in English, where you connect it and you go to a safe zone, and then when you activate it, that's the line of fire that you just saw, and then the building goes exploding and you destroy that tunnel. And usually they'll put the explosive inside the tunnel, and then you'll see suddenly shafts as well in the entire area of Gaza, just coming out explosions from different houses, just like here.
As the serious incident unfolded in southern Gaza, the 99th Division continued operations in Zaytun neighborhood. Fighters eliminated terrorists and expanded control in the area over the past day. Givati Brigade increased control in Jabalia neighborhood, which it had re-entered. Since morning, the brigade eliminated terrorists and destroyed terror infrastructure. Defense Minister Katz approved IDF attack plans at Southern Command meeting. Use all force to protect IDF troops. If anyone objects, send them to me, said the minister.
Good job.
Officials say the plan is good but not perfect, awaiting approval for increased pressure on Hamas.
From the world of special forces, gotta answer the doorbell. There's a lot of trust in Germany. Amazon delivery of my neighbors. Since I'm working from home, I often become the Amazon drop address for my neighbors. Anyway, from the world of special forces, whenever we hear someone telling us there's a perfect plan, bulletproof plan, that's when you start getting really worried, because there's no such thing as a perfect plan, and you gotta understand that. And when you understand that, you try to make it as perfect as possible, but you need to always think of contingencies and always understand that you have a plan, but the enemies have a plan as well. So that's very, very crucial. By the way, in case you wonder about the audio, so I took the liberty to add dubbing to this video.
Options: partial or full deal, or complete occupation of Gaza Strip. Israel at a crossroads with war's end in sight. The questions of how and when remain unanswered.
That's why the little bit funny audio here. Here's some final thoughts for you. This was Hamas ambush gone wrong, undoubtedly. It started with a tactical surprise, and it ended up with an operational failure. And it's a reminder that in modern warfare, victory isn't about numbers or weapons alone. It's about vigilance, and it's about readiness and being professional. Part of being a professional soldier is always being ready, and that's one of the biggest challenges that you have sometimes when you've been in war for a very long time. One of my biggest challenges were when I was in the special forces or when I was an officer in the army, including in Gaza, was to keep my soldiers ready. Because sometimes you can find yourself spending weeks, months in the same area with the same environment, with the same routine, and you gotta keep it, you gotta break the routine somehow, you gotta keep your soldiers sharp, and being on the defense is one of the hardest things. So especially when you're in outposts, it can be very dangerous. And I would even add leaders who stepped in when it matters. The IDF's motto is that you lead by example. It was the Bible verse taken from the words of Gideon when he was talking to the people of Israel, when he was going to the battlefield with jars of clay, and his soldiers looked at him and said, like, what are we going to do? And he told them, look at me and do as I do. And that is the title that they have, by the way, on the Officer Training Academy. It's written big around the wall in the big halls where we go every morning to raise the flag. Look at me and do as I do. It comes with a heavy price. Often in the IDF, the officers, the commanders will be the first to fall in combat because they're literally in the front. They're not sending the soldiers to fight and hiding behind, which most armies, I would say, even work that way. They want to protect the officer, so they send first the soldiers. In the IDF, it's the complete opposite. The soldiers are in the front, always in the front, charging first. It comes with a sacrifice. And on the other hand, it makes your army much stronger. And I strongly agree with that. You would see that many armies in the world, the special forces, they have that, but the regular forces don't. In Israel, basically, all the IDF has that. Here's some strategical takeaway and wisdom that we can take from this battle as we dive in. Hamas is adapting. Their use of tunnels, combined arms, mortars, RPGs, and rifles, and attempt at a direct infiltration show there are refining tactics for complex assault, not just random rocket fire. They're trying to do something. That was a very daring operation, and I'm sure that they planned for it for a long time. Apparently, the IDF have seen some movements a few days before, and they even laid an ambush, waiting for that, but they were looking at the wrong direction, and Hamas was able to come from around and catch them by surprise. But luckily, they managed to respond very professionally and eliminate the terrorists, and the rest ran away, and no one got killed or kidnapped from the IDF. Readiness prevent disaster. The outpost preparedness, soldiers alert, weapons ready, and commanders on the front line meant the ambush never reached its deadly potential. A less disciplined force would have collapsed. 100%. Leadership in combat is irreplaceable. Technology, tanks, and air power played a role, but the heart of this victory was that the commander was boots on the ground in the front, and he was the first one to react, and his soldiers followed suit. And it goes the same thing with business and many aspects, family, running a family. True leadership is leading by example. You gotta walk the talk, especially with children. I'm telling you, children will see right through you. You might fool your colleagues out there or your friends, but you can't fool your children. You can't fool your family, your wife. You're living with them. They know you inside out. So leadership and leading by example is the key. In moment of chaos, leadership in the point of contact decides whatever you lose men or save them. Psychological warfare matters. Hamas designed this ambush to send a message that they can still surprise, infiltrate, and cause heavily IDF losses. Their fighters were killed, their plan failed, and Israel demonstrated overwhelming control. I would even say Hamas know he's lost. There's no way, even on October 7, they basically counted on mainstream media and the world left and woke to save them. But when this is failing and IDF and Israel just ignoring that, they're realizing they're completely losing right now and they're going to be obliterated. They're going to all get killed. So the best thing they can do right now is to try to boost the morale and also fight this psychological warfare. They go, every one of them have a GoPro, and they go trying to find this perfect shot where they manage to kill IDF soldiers and even kidnap them, and that will strongly boost up the morale and also push for more support from the Arab world, because let's face it, no one likes to bet on a losing horse. And they're feeling the pressure right now, and they're being seen as a losing horse for a very long time. And slowly, even their allies are starting to back out, especially when they're seeing what Israel is doing to the allies of Hamas and the enemies of Israel. So they're really in a bad spot with their back to the wall. As we're speaking right now, there's talks of Israel recruiting 60,000 more IDF soldiers to go and take over Gaza and completely eliminate Hamas. Big things are happening, and they really needed that victory, but that came with a big failure for them, an ambush gone wrong. The bigger picture is that this engagement highlights the nature of modern asymmetric warfare. Groups like Hamas seek small tactical victories that can be amplified for propaganda. Just like I said, the IDF ability to prevent those symbolic victories is just as important as the battlefield outcome. Here's a closing thought for you. This was Hamas ambush gone wrong. It began with a tactical surprise but ended up in operational defeat. For Israel, the lesson is clear. Vigilance, professionalism, and strong leadership is what prevented this tragedy and turned the enemy's plan, as good as it might have been and as long as they prepared for it, to its own downfall. Here's more images from the IDF airstrikes. Apparently there was a Apache and 2 attack drones that came and joined the battle, but they came about 3.5 minutes after. The initial battle took 5 to 10 minutes, this whole battle. But later on, it was 3 hours of the whole entire operation. But that just shows you how crucial these moments are. One wrong decision, and you pay with your life and the life of your friends. We could have had here an entire massacre of the IDF guys, and maybe even kidnapping a few soldiers, dealing right now with the kidnapped soldiers, with the family, with the tragedy, with videos coming out and surfacing showing what happened. Good job to the Kfir Brigade warriors. Kfir is one of the IDF brigades that is specialized in urban warfare. They don't know too much about infantry in the mountains. They will get lost, send them navigating, and you will never see them again. But when it comes to close quarter, fighting in the streets, they're very good. They know what they're doing. This is their bread and butter. And these guys, basically, they messed with the wrong team. They entered into a close quarter combat with the Kfir Brigade, and that did not end up well for Hamas. Like I said, we're talking about close quarter, face-to-face. They managed to infiltrate the outpost. Surprise attack on them. Wow. The fact that no IDF soldiers was killed, thank God for that, and that 9 of these terrorists were eliminated there and then a few on the way back is just amazing. It just shows you the readiness and the professionalism of the IDF. And kudos to these guys, kudos to the tank commander, the Apache pilot, anyone that was involved in this operation. My name is Mansu. This is my podcast. And if you enjoyed this video, leave it in the comments. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And I just want to remind everyone again, if you want to help support this channel, go and check my Patreon. We can find practical, direct ways to help support me so I can keep doing this work, because after all, I'm doing this for free and out of my own free time. But also don't forget to do the like, share, subscribe. And in general, tell me if you enjoy these kind of videos, because I love talking about military stuff. I grew up, like I said, in the Special Forces. And this is my bread and butter, and I enjoy talking and explaining things about from that world of the military, of reconnaissance, behind enemy lines, in the defense, in the offense. So if you enjoy this kind of content, leave it in the comment as well and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do more videos like this. But until then, don't do anything stupid, and in general, just don't just don't mess with the IDF, baby. Don't mess with the IDF. See you next time.